Hey everybody, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today it's going to be Super Contra for the NES, or just Super C as it's actually properly known. This is much like the first Contra on NES, very loosely based on Super Contra, the arcade game. And it is an awesome game. It's a very, very great follow-up to the original Contra. If you've played the first Contra, but you've never played this, I highly, highly recommend checking this game out. It holds up great. It's a ton of fun to play, and it's definitely one of my favorites on the NES. So, you know, I actually did a long play of this game, just straight long play with post-commentary, which is kind of was my thing before I did Let's Plays, you know, many, many years ago. And it's been about 6 years since I last covered this game on my channel, so it's actually kind of appropriate we're revisiting this. I always have in the back of my head that I don't want to do too much duplicate content, but man, time has really passed since I've started my channel here, and it feels like just yesterday I did a video on this, but it's been 6 years. So yeah, we're actually long overdue for a follow-up playthrough. Fortunately now I've got much better video quality. We're using the retro USB AVS console to do this, and we're going straight into my Elgato HD60 Pro capture card, so things should look nice and crisp and clear, you know, pixel perfect and stuff like that. So yeah, good time to revisit it. Also, kind of like my NES Contra Let's Play from sometime last year, or maybe it was earlier this year, I don't remember, I've done so many Let's Plays. What we're going to do is we're going to play through the game normally, and then we're going to try to do the second loop, which is harder than the first loop, and we're going to try to do it with just the rifle only. So, and the first Contra is not that hard doing that, but I think Super C is actually a little more challenging rifle only, so we'll kind of see what happens, and I'll just sort of try to explain strategies and stuff like that as usual as we go. So before we jump into this though, as usual, I want to give a big shout out to my current Patreon backers. So they're going to flash by the screen. Thank you guys for your continued support, and if we had any live stream super chatters, they're going to flash by the screen as well. So thank you guys for your support too. So with that said, let's go ahead and hit the start button and jump into it. We're not using the Konami code. You can use the Konami code here and you'll get a bunch of extra lives, but we're not going to do that. So we're just playing with the stock 3 lives. And here we go. Like I said, this first run, we're going to be playing normally, and we're going to start off with a machine gun here. And the idea is to get the spread shot. Very much like the first Contra, the spread shot is just amazing in this game. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the other weapons in the game are great too. The machine gun's fantastic. The fire shot is actually way better now than it was in the first game. And even the laser can be decent as well. My big issue with the laser in this game is that it just comes out really, really slow, so it's definitely not my preferred weapon. These power-ups right here basically just clear everything on the screen, so if you ever see them, it's good to get them. And what we'll do is we'll switch up to the fire shot here in just a minute, so I can sort of demonstrate that. It's going to appear right here. So there's the fire shot, and there we go. It basically hits enemies and splits off into a 4-way burst that actually hurts enemies. And what's really cool about this weapon is you can actually hold it down and charge it up for just a split second, and it'll split out into basically an 8-way shot. Is it 8-way? Yeah, looks like it. And there's our spread shot right there, and that is what we want. And we're going to be using this bad boy for hopefully the rest of the game. Hopefully I don't die and lose it. If we die and lose it, then, well, that'll suck, but you know, it happens. You know, one thing that's actually really interesting about Super Contra on NES is that when you're aiming up on a hill, your shots actually sort of go up the hill, even though your gun is clearly aimed at a 45-degree angle. It's a nice little touch, actually, that you don't have in the original Contra. Well, actually, one reason it's not in the original Contra is you don't actually have hills in the original Contra on NES. It's all just flat platforms. So that is something that, you know, I never really noticed before, that Super Contra has hills and the original Contra does not. I don't know why I never noticed that before. It's pretty obvious, actually, but, I mean, it just goes to show how seamless the hills were implemented in this game. But it is interesting that your gun actually points higher up than the hill actually goes, but your shot will actually go up at like an even length with the hill. So it definitely helps with hitting enemies at the top of a hill or at the top of an incline. And we just got ourselves an extra life. Very much like the first Contra game on NES, you do get a lot of extra lives as long as you play well. And we're going to go ahead and grab the spread shot again. I believe you get some points for picking up power-ups, even if you already have them, so it's good to pick up the icons again. Unless you've got the rapid fire icon, the R. So basically your shots, they fire at a certain speed in this game, and the R icon will actually make them go a little bit faster. I don't remember what it stands for exactly. We always called it rapid back in the day, even though I don't know if that's actually what it stands for. It could stand for rate of fire, for all I know. So of the two Contra games on NES, I would probably say Super C is easier if you're powered up. But I think it's actually a tougher game on the early loops with just your standard rifle shot. Now, the original Contra on NES does get harder. So the original Contra loops many, many times. It probably loops 5 or 6 times. Like, it keeps raising the difficulty every time. Whereas in Super C, I think the difficulty actually peaks on the second loop. So after you've beaten it the second time, the difficulty does not get any higher, unfortunately. It's one of the things I actually don't like about Super C, because what I would do with the original Contra is I would do marathon runs and just try to max out the high score. And by maxing out the high score, it forces you to play through all those subsequent loops, and it constantly gets harder and harder and harder and harder. And it peaks very late in the loop cycle, where Super C peaks like after the first loop, or not after the first loop, but like after you beat it the second time. Like, that's where the difficulty seems to peak, from what I understand. So it's not as fun to loop this game, unfortunately. But you know, if you're just playing with the rifle, I do think this is a tougher game. I think enemies actually have a tendency of shooting more often. There's the R right there. So now my spread shot's going to go across the screen a little bit faster, which is nice. And we've got these sort of turrets that come up out of the ground. You don't want to touch them because you will die. And we're going to have a turret here as well. I actually should have left that just in case I die here. But you can actually aim up and shoot these things. That's not really that tough to deal with if you got the spread shot. There's the laser. We do not want the laser. Unless I die. I'll pick it up if I die. But the idea is to not die, hopefully. Yeah, because the spread shot is just really, really great in this game. Also, a nice little feature here is that if you duck underwater, you actually can't get hurt by enemies. So if you ever feel overwhelmed in this game, and you're in a water section, just duck. Just take your time and duck. You don't have to rush it. There's no timer in this game. In the arcade Contras, you couldn't actually sit on screen for too long. Otherwise, like, a bomb would appear on screen, and you would just die. It would make the whole screen explode, and you would die. That doesn't happen in this game, or the original NES Contra. So you can take your time. Don't feel rushed in this game. Enemies usually they travel at a pretty basic speed. You know, it's. You know, it could be a pretty casual experience if you wanted to. It's not like playing, say, Contra Hardcore on the Sega Genesis, or you know, Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo. Those games can be really, really tough and very, very overwhelming. This guy, you basically just have to shoot his core, and so you can do it by standing up and shooting at him, or if you have the spread shot, you can duck, and your shot can still hit him. And right here, we're gonna have, you know, these things break away and fall down. And that is B. B makes you invincible. And we're just going to wait for one of these to trigger. And then we can just jump over these like so. This section is basically the same pattern every single time you play it. It does not change. But you do have to watch out. When the screen's bouncing up and down, if you mistime your jump, you actually won't jump. Kind of an interesting little mechanic there. It's like, it almost like... the ground like drops below your feet just a few pixels, and the game treats it like you're in midair. So you can't jump in midair in this game, so you've got to watch out for that. So what I like to do in this boss is actually just try to kill these cores first. It's not necessary. You can actually go for the main core first if you want, but you do get some extra points and things like that if you go for the side cores. There we go. Now I'm going to go for the main core. And on to stage 4. So making pretty good progress already. There is the possibility we will die a couple times on this run. Not the second loop, but just this first loop, because there are a couple tricky points in the game I'll mention once we get to them. The second top-down stage in particular has some troublesome parts. So these bubbles that constantly come out here, you just want to sit to the left and just shoot. And then once they stop coming out, you're pretty much good to go. But don't rush through them, you will die. Oh, and we died. That's not good. That's okay. We'll get another spread shot by the end. And, so we're gonna shoot those, let those drop. It's gonna shoot this guy from a distance, just like that. Now you'll notice that with your rifle, you can only have 4 shots on screen at once. Just like that. If you time it just right, you can get all 4 shots out pretty quickly. So what I see people doing when they play games like this is they have a tendency of just mashing the button constantly, even when like it's not even physically possible for any more bullets to be on screen. So what I recommend when you play a game like this is just sort of taper your shots, kind of like this. Ooh, we died again. Let's go ahead and get that machine gun though, and hopefully get the R at the same time. There we go. Well, this helps a little bit. I'm a little disappointed we've already died twice though. That's not good. I wasn't expecting to die actually. Yeah, if you're one of those kinds of people that likes the rifle, but, you know, you don't like having to taper your shots, or you like to mash the button even when, like, you can't physically shoot anymore, the machine gun's really good, you know, for people like that, because all you have to do is just hold down the button. There's no more mashing. So it's the only gun in the game that allows you to just hold down the button and constantly fire. You know, I'm gonna come over here and just sort of just shoot straight. Because my power-up's gonna come up, basically 2 at a time. One on the left side, one on the right-hand side. Oops, and I messed it up. Well, I've still got it. That's fine. Yeah, the idea was just to constantly shoot straight forward, hit both canisters at once. And so the bubbles from the first game make a reappearance. They were basically on the second behind the back stage boss. It was the stage 4 boss basically. So the original NES Contra game has 2 third-person sections. One on stage 2, one on stage 4. And what I'm going to do here is just sort of jump up and try to mash like that. So this is actually pretty tricky right here. This boss, it seems like on the first loop, does not go outside the screen. Oh no, it looks like he is now. Okay, there he goes. It seems like whether he goes off the screen is depending on like how close to the edge of the screen you are. But when I tried this on Twitch last week and I was doing the second loop, rifle only, that boss was definitely problematic. Because he would go off the screen and sort of like just like corner me, and I would have to die. So that'll be interesting once we get to it a second time. It's really interesting how many vertical sections are in this game. I think there are actually more than there are in the first Contra game, which is pretty cool. You know, even the final stage in the game, while there's a lot of just horizontal scrolling, there's also some vertical sections as well. So there's definitely a much greater mixture of stage designs in this game, I feel, compared to the first Contra on NES. I think I still actually prefer the first Contra over this one, but this is a phenomenal game. Like, you know, I'm not saying that as like, oh, this is a terrible game or anything. It's not. It's a fantastic game. Easily one of the best run and guns on the system, next to the first Contra. I mean, basically this and the first Contra are probably the 2 best run and guns on the console, period. You know, not just from a production standpoint, but the gameplay is just so good. It's so satisfying to just run and gun in this game, especially with the spread shot. It's so satisfying in both games, not just this game. And there are going to be some turrets that appear here. You can actually duck under these turrets' shots. But you do have to watch out for these guys. They basically come out through these doors. And it's boss time. You just want to shoot the core in the middle. Try to hit the little skulls when they hit the ground. And that's it. I mean, you can see how the spread shot just wrecks things, because what I try to do with the spread shot is what I do in, like, shoot-em-ups. If I have a spread shot in the shoot-em-up, I'm trying to do what's called point blanking, where I get as close to the enemy as possible so I can make all parts of that spread actually make contact with the enemy. Because every piece of my spread shot does damage, and if I'm only hitting with one of those bullets, one of those 5 bullets, I'm doing a fifth of the damage I could be doing. And if I'm right up in front of the enemy, and all the bullets are hitting, I'm doing a ton more damage. And this is the part where it's, you know, I might potentially die here. These things that come up out of the ground, these mouths, very, very random, it seems, and very difficult to deal with. You also have to watch out for these, like, little alien things. They actually shoot at you. And what I have a tendency of doing is focusing on those heads around me, because they're dangerous as well, but forgetting about the little alien guys, and I end up getting, like, you know, sideswiped by a bullet. That actually happened on one of my practice sessions. Alright, good stuff so far. That's good. And we're gonna bust open this wall onto the second half. Oh, boss time. So for this boss, you can actually sort of just, like, sit off to the side just a little bit, and neither his projectiles only go straight or in a 45-degree angle. And for the second part, you can just wail on him in his face. Just mash as quickly as you can. You can destroy the snake if you want to, get some extra points. And that's it. We did it. Awesome. That's going to be a lot harder in the second loop without the spread shot. Alright, despite dying twice, we still have 8 lives, so that's good. There are a couple of interesting strategies here. Sort of taking advantage of, almost taking advantage of the game in a way. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So for these guys, you can just duck and just shoot straight at them, even with just the rifle. But you've got to watch out for the guys that run from behind. They can catch you off guard. I've actually gotten killed by them before, by not paying attention. And I always try to, as I'm falling down, I try to shoot where those guys spawn. There's gonna be some more power-ups right there. Don't really want them. I just want to keep my spread shot if I can. One of those power-ups is a laser shot. And one other thing I'm gonna have to do on the second loop is if I die, I'm gonna or not if I die, but if I pick up a weapon, I'm gonna have to kill myself. So for this part right here, if you got the spread shot, you can just, you know, sort of just aim it down from up top. If you get down below, those things will spawn aliens. And with the spread shot, you can actually do this. Like, check this out. And this one down here, you can actually destroy before you even get down there, but it won't actually go away. Once your bullets start going through it, it's dead. And you can just run right into it. There's nothing there anymore. It's like a glitch. There we go. And unfortunately, you can't do it for this one. But with the spread shot, you should be good. It's a lot harder on that part with a rifle. Very difficult to deal with that part with just the rifle. We're just gonna shoot this guy in the face as fast as we can, and then occasionally I'll stop firing just so I can get a full spread again, which allows me to clear the other enemies out, kind of like that, in just one fell swoop. See? So you just tap it lightly. So how wide your spread shot spread is depends on how many other bullets you've already got on the screen. You can only have so many bullets on the screen at once. And I'm actually not doing as much damage as I should because only one of my spread shots is hitting. So I wanted to get off to the side a little bit so I can hit him with like 2 or 3 of my spread shot. All right, on to the final stage. And how many lives do we have now? We have 9. Great, awesome. I want as many lives as I can. I want as many lives as I can get because, you know, the second loop's going to be way more difficult than this first loop. So you just want to shoot these mouths in the wall. And I had a feeling that was going to happen. This is a really tight jump right here. That actually happened in a practice session as well. It almost doesn't even surprise me, and I got killed again. Now that's embarrassing. Like, stuff like that, I just want to reset the whole game and start the Let's Play over, but I've actually been recording Let's Plays for the last couple of hours now, because I did my Batman NES Let's Play, then I had to do multiple runs on Abadox, so I am kind of Let's Played out at the moment. So I definitely don't want to be doing another run of this if I can avoid it. Alright, so some more weapons should spawn here, hopefully. There we go. Yep, there they are. And it's the fire, which is fine. Fire's great in this game. It's really, really powerful. Alright, and so for this part, some bubbles are going to appear up top. It's good to try to take them out if you can. And you kind of just want to wait for it to go back up, let it fall down, let it go back up. Kind of like so. There we go. Alright, on to the final boss. Which is actually a really, really easy final boss. Gotta love the purple in this level too. You don't see purple like this in a lot of NES games. Alright, so you want to just kind of stay off to the side here. If you touch those little, you know, bits and pieces that come up, you actually do die. So we're just gonna wait, and now we're gonna just shoot it in the eye. And if we need to, we're just gonna shoot straight up like this. There we go, and a little glitch here is you can actually jump up here onto its, whatever you want to call it. It's like an invisible platform. Alright, so that's loop number 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into loop number 2. And we're going to have to actually kill ourselves at first so we can switch back to the rifle. Now, what I should have done is when I died on that level, I shouldn't have picked up another weapon. But I wanted another weapon just for safety reasons, but it would have saved me a death, basically, if I didn't do that. So now, because I have the fire shot, I have to kill myself to switch back to my rifle. It's not like, say, Contra Hardcore or Contra 3, where if I only have one item in my inventory, or one weapon in my inventory, I have another slot where it's just my machine gun, so it's a little bit easier in those games. But in this one, I have to kill myself. Alright, so let's see how this goes. This will be interesting. This will definitely be interesting. And that was only 25 minutes as well. It's actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. And that was with, like, the intro and everything. Let's go ahead and scroll the screen a little bit and get ourselves killed. And I'm not going to use the R either. I'm just going to use my stock shot. Really, the R should be fine, but I'm going to go ahead and just keep it stock completely. So one thing about this run is that enemies will shoot slightly faster. There might be more of the running guys. On this level, you got the grenades that sort of come out of the buildings, and there's going to be more of them. There we go. I have to actually think about things a little bit more now. There we go. Alright, so now on this boss, we're going to have running guys coming out from the sides now. We do have to watch out for those. Oh, look at that. Very nice. Very nice. So we were able to get that, you know, before it went off screen. If it went off screen, we would have had to go through a cycle where guys just jump out the back, and we'd have to just focus on killing those guys before the core, the weak point, would come back in on screen. So that was actually really nice. I actually, when I tried this on Twitch, was not able to do that. I had to go through that second cycle of killing the guys that come out of the hatch. So if you're clever, you can actually sort of position yourself diagonally like this. But I try not to do that. I just hold in the direction I need to shoot, and I just shoot that way. Because you constantly have to move. You can't just sit in place. If you do, like, you're probably gonna get hit by a projectile. So it's better to be in motion. That way you can dodge effectively. You know, especially on this second loop. Just take these guys out one at a time. There we go. So you don't need to mash the fire button a bunch of times too just to take out one of these guys. Just aim properly, shoot once, tap the button, have confidence that you'll hit them, and you'll kill them in one hit. And then you'll have bullets to spare. You know, you don't want to have all your bullets out, then have a guy come up from behind, but again, because you can only have 4 bullets on screen at once, you don't want to be trying to shoot them, but not have any bullets to spare. Trust me, it happens. Okay. Good start so far, though. I think the last time I tried this, I actually ended up dying here on this stage. And we got another extra life as well. Ooh, that was close. There we go. Alright, good stuff. On to level 3 again. One of the toughest levels is probably going to be the second top-down stage. With, like, the mouths that come out of the ground and all, like, the little spike orbs that come in from both sides of the screen. It's going to be really tough to deal with. But we'll see what happens. Should be interesting. Just kind of avoiding the power-ups. You know, if I don't even hit the canisters, then I know I'm not going to be able to accidentally get the power-ups, because if I accidentally get them, I have to kill myself. Otherwise, it's not a full rifle-only run. It's a lot like what I did in Super Castlevania 4, where I went through the whole game with just the leather whip and no power-ups. And if I got a sub-weapon... Well, a sub-weapon wasn't really a big deal, because in that game, you don't have to use your sub-weapons. You can have them, you just can't use them. If I got a whip upgrade, though, I had to actually kill myself, so... You can see there are more enemies here now, so more bullets to worry about. But again, just duck. You don't take any damage if you're underneath water. It's like the enemies don't even know you're there. Even though I guess technically they should be bumping into you. And you have to press the A button to jump out of the water. Otherwise you might get stuck there for a while. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this boss is basically the same as before, nothing special here. Alright, good stuff. So the screen in this game actually only scrolls if you're at the halfway point in the screen or farther. But it also scrolls if you're all the way over to the right, and that's not good to have the screen scrolling when you pretty much have no room to react. So what I like to do in this game, and the first Contra as well, and a lot of other 8-bit games actually, and this is a very common feature in side-scrollers, is moving back to about the center of the screen, because that's where the screen will start scrolling for you. So notice, like, I'm always in the middle of the screen, but if I beat a boss and it lets me start scrolling and I'm all the way to the right, it's gonna still scroll even though I'm all the way to the right. So I had to manually move myself back to the center of the screen to give myself the most, you know, time to react to bullets and things like that, and enemies and whatnot. It's actually a very important little mechanic that is really good to know about. Alright, good stuff. Alright, so level 3, no problem. On to level 4. Level 4 was where I really started to have problems the other day when I tried this. So we'll see what happens here. Alright, and we're gonna actually duck right here. If you actually stand, those things will blow up in your face and you will die. So you gotta watch out for that as well. So what's actually kind of funny about this level, though, is we got through about half of it rifle only already, so this isn't really gonna be, you know, too big of a deal. It's gonna be the second half that's gonna be a little bit tricky. There we go. Oop! Don't want to get that. See, I was shooting down, I hit the canister and the power-up almost landed right into me. Alright, we gotta watch out for those bubbles, too. Alright, on to the last section. There's one bubble, there's two bubbles, there's 3 and 4, there's 5 and 6, there's 7 and 8, and there's gonna be a bunch more. I'm gonna stop counting. Ooh, uh-oh. See, if I was constantly mashing my fire button there, I probably would not have gotten through those guys. But since I'm making, like, educated, gauged shots, we're good. Alright, boss time. Let's get over here. Kind of just do it this way. There we go. Having a big gap here really helps. It seems like he doesn't go off the screen if he's got a laser turret on one side, at least one side. So I bet you he's gonna go off the screen now. Yep. Okay, so we just figured out how it works. As long as the laser turrets are there on the ends, then he won't go off the screen. So that's actually really good to know if you're trying to do a second loop. I mean, even just the first loop, that's really good information. So basically, you want to try to attack the middle ones first. That gives you a huge gap to just sit in. You don't have to really worry about anything or dodge anything. It is fun learning new strategies like that and understanding how, you know, these old games work. Because for one, you're learning something, but two, it's, you know, you're making the game easier on yourself. That's a good thing. You know, the easier you can make a game on yourself, the better you're getting at it, you know? The more likely it is you can finish it and feel good about yourself. Because it is a lot of fun defeating challenging games. And, you know, I would not say Super C is a super challenging game compared to, you know, a lot of other games I play here on this channel. But, you know, it's not easy for everybody. And it can still be a challenge if you're not playing safe, if you're not being careful. So I didn't really explain it on the first loop, but there are these purple blocks, or purple boulders that fall down. So I like to jump right here and let that one fall, and then jump again. I want to notice that the screen gets pushed up just a teensy tiny bit when I jump, and I just want to make sure that all the boulders have fallen before I jump. If you jump and all the boulders haven't come down yet, you'll get hit by one. It'll appear as you're scrolling the screen up, and you'll slam right into it. So you've got to watch out for that. And this turret's going to be a little difficult to take out. Oh, we got it. Good. Because of the running guys. There we go. Alright, on to the boss fight. Nice, got it. So one of the nice things about Contra and Super C is you can shoot in 8 directions. If you're jumping, even though you're spinning, you can still shoot in the air. You can shoot straight, you can shoot left, you can shoot up, you can shoot down, you can shoot diagonally up and down. Doesn't really matter. So you've got perfect, like, you know, perfect aiming left, right, up, down, and in 45-degree angles. Alright, so this is probably going to be the trickiest stage, rifle only. And then the boss after this will be tough as well. This boss should be pretty easy, rifle only. But it's the boss after that's not going to be so easy. That was really close, actually. There we go. Alright, good start, actually. Really good start. Alright, let's just get rid of those power-up canisters. I don't want them in my way. Oops, there we go. There's a death. There we go. Nice. Alright. And on to the boss fight. So again, just like before, you can sort of just sit off to the side. Sort of like off-center. And he will not be able to hit you. And for the second form, you just shoot him in the mouth again, just as usual. He shoots these like slow-moving fireballs out. Your shots will kill the fireballs. There we go. Done deal. Nice. Alright, 2 more stages to go. And we're at 42 minutes on the Let's Play. 14 lives, too. Very nice. I think we're pretty much good. But this boss will be tricky. And some of the sections on this level will be tricky as well. Because again, you have more enemies coming out from both sides of the screen. I can't really tell if enemies take longer to kill. In the first Contra, enemies do take longer to kill on subsequent loops, and that's where part of the challenge comes from. For instance, like the alien head, right before the final boss in the original Contra, takes a crazy amount of hits on loops 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so forth. I will say my hand's a little tired of button mashing now, because when you have to mash in this game, you have to mash fast. So we're just going to take it easy on this part. There's no, you know, no time issue. We can just take our time. Whew. Let that hand rest. Okay. So just like before, we can use some tricks to kill these guys from up top. Remember, you can control your jumps in this game, too. You can go back and forth. You can dance in the air if you want to. There we go. We're going to go ahead and just come down here. Watch out for the aliens. Oh, look at that. You can still hit them from above. That's actually really good to know. I thought it was only with the spread shot, but it looks like the hitbox is really large. Like, look at that. You can see the bullet making contact before it even touches it. There's a big gap, which indicates the hitbox is really large. The hitbox is a lot larger than the actual object is. So hey, if you figure stuff like that out, by all means use it. You know, don't feel bad. You're not cheating, you're just playing to the game's rules. There we go, he's dead. Alright, great. Now this is gonna be tough. We're gonna have to actually do this normally. So, jump up and shoot! Jump up and shoot! Alright, good stuff. Alright, this one will be tough too. Jump up and shoot! Nice. Very nice. Okay, alright, boss time. Button mashing time. Oh, wow, we got it without dying. Awesome. Whew. Man, my hand is really starting to wear out now. That's the thing about rifle only, is that you have to mash so much harder if you want to kill bosses quickly. You know, there are certain parts in bosses where you don't have to mash that fast. You can just take your time, just taper your shots, like, kind of like this. This doesn't wear your thumb out. If this wears your thumb out, you need to build some, you need to build some thumb muscles. But once you start mashing like crazy, yes, it's expected for your hand to wear out. Ooh, that was close. Alright, there we go. Let's try to not die here again. Again, this is a really tight jump. Ooh, barely made it. We can probably just skip this guy. Yep. Just jump over him. Not this one, though. And just shoot this guy from down below. There are a lot of things in the Contra games where you can hit them from places, you know, like farther down the screen. So you can basically destroy them in safety. So if you're ever having troubles with like these original Contra games, just keep that in mind. You know, maybe if you're dying, maybe you're just getting too close to things that you don't need to get close to. You know, the first Contra is a great place to practice because there are so many turrets in that game that you can destroy from like all the way on the other side of the screen at the bottom. Like, you know, you can make one appear just at the top of the screen in the waterfall stage, kill it from down below, and it's really not a big deal. Alright, so we pretty much have this in the bag. I mean, I could die 15 times here, but one thing you can do here, though, if you time your jump just right, you can actually keep moving even when it slams down. So kind of like this. Only on the jumps that are smaller. If you do it on the larger jump, you will fall down and you'll die. That's a fun little trick I like to do, is just, you know, it slams down and I still jump and I make the small gap. It's satisfying. I like little tricks like that in games. Alright, so we're basically just going to do the same thing as before. Just stand off to the side. Admire all the purple. Wait for this thing to come up. And just go to town. And that's it. And that is 2 loops of Super Contra. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it doesn't loop any more than this. Like, I should go back a step, actually. The difficulty doesn't rise any more than that. I think it pretty much caps out at the second loop difficulty. The game will keep going, though. If you want to keep pushing for, like, the highest score ever or whatever, or max out the score, I don't know what the score maxes out to in this game, or if it rolls back to 0 once you get too high. So, some NES games do that. But I don't think the difficulty rises farther than that. And if it does, it's probably barely noticeable. I remember doing a crazy amount of loops on this many years ago. Probably an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of loops. You know, using regular weapons and whatnot. And it just did not feel any more difficult than the second loop. So yeah, we're not going to do any more loops than that, but hopefully that was a fun Let's Play for you guys. You got to see Super C played normally, as well as played rifle only on the second loop. So hopefully that was entertaining to you. For you guys that are curious about things like that, I did play the first Contra on NES just recently, and basically did the same thing. I ran through the first loop normally just to show people what that's like, and then I played through the second loop, which is more difficult, with just rifle only. So if you're interested in seeing that, I'll probably have a link in the description box for that. Otherwise, just go search for Contra on my YouTube channel, and you will find it. But Yeah, really great series of games. Some of my favorites on the NES. Definitely a lot of fun to play, and it was good to come back to this game, you know, about 6 years later. So if you guys have any more questions or comments or anything like that, or if you just want to share some memories or whatever, you know, feel free to post a comment down below and I'll try to respond. And to anyone new to my channel, consider subscribing. I've got a lot of Let's Plays here and many, many more to come. For everyone already subbed, thank you for your continued support. And on that note, I think I'm going to go ahead and head out. I don't really have anything else to say. So until the next video, guys, take it easy.